Well, I suppose we'll kick off because it's 2:33. So basically this session is just, on point of care testing, things to look out for when you're using your devices. So essentially I'm just going to be going over general things. So I hope you weren't looking for anything too exciting because it's just going to be competency updates and where you can find information, which is all really important. But yes, so if you would like to register for today's attendance, you can just scan the QR code. This QR code will be on each slide, so if you miss this first slide, you can get the next one. And if the QR code doesn't work, just let me know. You can text me your name, your staff link, and your facility to the below mobile, and I can register for you. Now, I do apologise if you can hear any background noise. My puppy dog's here, and he's currently chewing on something, so I hope he stays occupied. All right. So to begin with, I'd just like to do an acknowledgement of country. So New South Wales Health Pathology acknowledges the traditional custodians of the lands on which we work and pay our respects to ancestors and elders, past, present and emerging. We are committed to honouring Australian Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples' unique cultural and spiritual relationships to the land, waters and sea and their rich contribution to society. I'd also like to acknowledge the Wiradjuri people on whose land I'm speaking to you today, and pay my respects to any Aboriginal people that are here with us as well. Okay, so this is just sort of a general overview of what point of care look after in the Western New South Wales space. So these devices will probably look pretty familiar to you. You've got your Karage Check, which is your INR machine. On the left there, your ISAT in the middle, and then you've got your larger blood gas analyzer, which you'll mainly see sort of floating around higher traffic EDs and bigger pathologies. Okay, so who can train me? So your point of care coordinator, a super user at your facility, and if you ever need any contact details, just look to your lime green folder. So your lime green folder should always be located near your point of care device. Should is the operative word that I'm going to use there, but yeah, it should always be there. That's a really good folder if you ever need any important information or any contacts regarding point of care. So we touched upon we touched upon in training a super user can provide training for you, but basically just an overview of who a super user is. So it's somebody that's been signed off on a point of care device as an operator, but they have received additional training from a point of care coordinator. Only a point of care coordinator can train a super user, so a super user can't train another super user. It's just your coordinator. So if you look to your lime green folder, you'll be able to find all your contact details on who is best to contact. And yeah, what they can do, they can train staff at your facilities, and we find our super users essential to the point of care space. They do so much work for us, and we're always very, very grateful. Anyone can become a super user. You don't have to be an RN. I have some amazing ENs that are super users in my facilities, and they do a phenomenal job at looking after the devices. So just to touch upon competencies. So a little while ago we did have some updates to how we do our competencies. I've sort of grouped them here. So you can see up the top there you've got your ISAT, your GEM 4000 and 5000 and your Karage Check Pro. So competencies with this last a lifetime, provided a few different things, but all our competencies are now done face-to-face with a piece of paper that has a sort of a checklist that we have to go off, and then it has to be signed off and forwarded to your coordinator. Previously we did have like My Health Learning sort of things you could do, but that was a while ago and we've since changed that. It has to be a physical competency. Yeah, your competencies, they last a lifetime as long as you keep below the region's average 10% wastage and error rate. And it can also come down to coordinator's discretion. Your Karage Check XS Pro models, which are still floating around West. They only last 24 months. And the reason for that being is that they can't detect individual operators' wastage or error rates. In terms of the Karage Check SS Pro, most sites you'll start to see those thinning out, and you won't be seeing those as much anymore. We're rolling out the Pro 2s just because they have that capability to detect individual wastage and error rates. So I thought this was probably a little bit important just to touch upon what we monitor as coordinators and in point of care. So I always like to say that we're like a friendly big brother that's always watching you, but not in a creepy way, in a nice way. Thanks for laughing, Sarah. So we do monitor your usage of the point of care devices. So we have automatically generated reports that come through to us monthly, 3 monthly, and annually. And in these reports, they highlight greater than average region wastage and then any error rate that's above 10%. Just to keep in mind, if you work in 20%, obviously we're a little bit more lenient, so it's 20%. So we do send out emails if you have a greater than 10% wastage or error rate, and you might have to complete targeted error retraining, but usually it's just a heads up email, and we'll go through that in a minute. Usually it's just a heads up just saying, these are the errors you've incurred, this is what you could look out for next time. So this is sort of what the email might look like. Just excuse how dodgy it looks on my screen. It's stretched out really weirdly. But basically I've just written an email to myself, and this is what I send out to my sites. The other coordinators might do things a little bit differently, but this is what I send out to all my sites, and it's just flagging that you've had an increased error rate, and then I attach the error information sheet there, and it basically just says in terms of you getting automatically recertified for the next year. That was really hard to say. This is sort of how we manage it basically. And you do have the option to undertake retraining with a super user at your facility if you would like, but yeah, they're really just a heads up email just to say, you know, these are the errors you've incurred, just what to look out for. In that PDF attachment, this is what you'll see. So for the different devices, so if you're using an ISAT and you make more errors on the ISAT, we'll send you that email, and then we'll attach the operator error information sheet. And this is sort of what it has. So these are the errors you can get on your ISAT. So you've got your underfilling the cartridge, blood clotted prior to adding the cartridge, your quality control pouch on the cartridge is burst. So that's really just due to handling of the cartridge. So inside those cartridges there's a little foil pouch, and if you press it too hard you can actually burst it and damage the cartridge. And yeah, the ISAT's pretty smart, and he'll kick it right off. You can also overfill your cartridge, and you can miss mandatory fields. So they're just, not entering, MRN, date of birth, and all that sort of stuff. We're a little bit needy in point of care. There's a lot of errors you can get. So if we were to look at a Karage Check error information, it's a little bit less, there's a lot less errors you can get. Simply, it's a more sort of simple machine to use in theory, although I struggle using a Karage Check. So yeah, you've got code error 403 and error code 405. So one just refers to your dosing error. So you've just put your blood on your strip too early, or you just haven't put enough on. And then the other one is a measurement error. So a non-finger prick specimen has been applied. Okay, so, and then with your gems, not sure how many of you guys have gems floating around, but these are the sort of errors you'll get on your gems. So yeah, in terms of, you can get air slugs, air detected in the sample, insufficient samples. So with those emails we send out, we'll send out that email, we'll attach the correlating error information PDF, and then we'll tick the box of whatever one has come up under your staff link ID. Okay, so as Boromir kindly is pointing out for us, please don't share your cards. I know it's really, really easy to, but we really, really recommend not doing it. There's a whole heap of different reasons. One of the main reasons is obviously you've been signed off as competent on that device, not another person that might not be signed off on that device. Any errors, as we just spoke about, you make on those devices, it is registered under your StaffLink ID. So it will come through to us registered under your StaffLink ID. So I recommend not doing it because we might ask you to get retrained. In the case of if we do ask you to get retrained, we can't really prove otherwise that it was somebody else using your card. So yeah, we will ask that you're retrained. There's also heaps of patient safety and accreditation issues that surround sharing your cards. So please try not to do that. And I don't know if I mentioned, but yeah, once you are deemed competent on your competency, you do get sent an electronic card. So just like the one here in the top left, and then we send you out a hard copy that you can use. So the unknown or incorrect patient form. So this is really targeted for people that if you don't know a patient's MRN or you have entered the incorrect MRN. So we do have a form that's located in your lime green folder that you can use to correct this. Only point of care can correct it. So I always say to my sites, get it in within 24 hours, but I always say, as long as it's in within 2 weeks or something, then it'll be corrected. Anytime after that, and it gets a little bit hard to fix on our end just because our system's so big. But yeah, if you don't know a patient's MRN, we just recommend using the 99s, and then that can be amended by us. And if you have entered an incorrect MRN for your patient, this can be amended by the point of care team as well. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. So this is sort of what it looks like, the form. I'm not sure if many of you have seen it. I'm sure you would be, but it's located under forms in your lime green folder. And you just sort of fill it out accordingly. So whatever you've done, you just fill out the date of the test, the time of the test, your test type and your device type, and obviously where you're located. Just a handy hint up the top there, you can actually scan that barcode and it will auto-populate 99s into the patient field. I know a lot of facilities in my areas, they sort of have a 99s card, just like a physical printout of the card that they've just attached to the wall to help with that, but you can also use this as well. And as we can see here, you just keep filling it out. So I've just done it as an unknown patient, so I've used 99s, put the patient's name and their date of birth, and Jane Doe is definitely kicking on. She is 1807. Good on you, Jane. And then I've just corrected it to whatever MRN her MRN would be, and it's a 7-digit number. Always a 7-digit number. And we do ask that you pop a comment in there. It's not always necessary, but it just helps us sort of look for things if we need to. And if you could please always put your operator name, StaffLink ID and signature down the bottom of the person that ran the test. Makes it a lot easier to find if something goes wrong. And now we'll touch upon INRs greater than 4. So if you don't have Karage Checks in your region, you can probably just, dial out for this bit. I don't know how applicable it will be for you, but all of my sites have Karage Checks, and this is just the procedure of what we do with INRs greater than 4. So basically, point of care can't validate any INR greater than 4. So we do ask that if you get an INR greater than 4, that you repeat the test using a fresh sample immediately after. And then if still 4, we ask that you collect formal pathology to be sent off to a lab. So we do monitor that, and we do actually get a notification on our end, like an automatically generated report that does highlight, what site and what operator ID has had an INR greater than 4. I realise that there's a lot of sort of things that can go into not collecting formal pathology. So we do actually seek corrective action in those emails. So a lot of the time we send them out and we don't get a response. But part of our accreditation is that we do actually find out what corrective action was taken with that patient. So we will sort of say, you know, what did you do? Was there anything that you can tell me? So I sort of recommend just to document well in your clinical notes so that when we do send out those emails, you can sort of say what happened. Obviously, if it's over the weekend, there's probably no couriers. If you've notified the medical officer in charge, then that changes things again. So if you could just, you know, keep that in mind, they're all fine. And the New South Wales Health Pathology intranet. So I thought I'd just show you this. I'm not sure how many of you have seen this, but this is sort of our site that's allocated to point of care within the intranet, and it has lots of information, including webinars, what we're up to, and lime green folder documents. It's particularly helpful for your lime green folder documents and any updates. So I thought I'd just show you if it works. Let's hope. Okay, so it will take you to this homepage. I hope you can still see what I'm seeing. You click on clinical services and then point of care testing. Now you can there's all these different tabs here that you can kind of have a look at. You can find your local coordinator, you've got dashboards, resources, education and training, test groups and devices, and if management ever want to apply for a service, this is where you come to as well. We've got our latest news down here, and I can show you, I can't remember which one it is. Here we go. So under resources, this is probably the one that's more relevant for everyone. So if we go device materials, you can actually see all the devices that we look after. So these are all the sort of different ones that we have under our managed service. And then if you click on the individual links, you can see all the documents from the lime green folders. So these are the ones that are most up to date on our end. So if you were looking for, I don't know, a competency assessment or something, you could just open up there and print it. So that's really all I had to talk about. Do we have any questions? Nope. It's all right. No questions. Well, if that's it, guys, I hope you've all used your QR code to register your attendance, and if not, just feel free to text me on that number just at the bottom of the screen there, and I can register for you. If there's no questions, I suppose have a happy Friday.
Thanks, Rosh.